You want to see a magic trick? What if I take a straight needle and a crochet hook and I smash them together? I get this. This is called a Tunisian crochet hook. Tunisian crochet really is like knitting and crochet got together and they had a baby. And I love it. Like, it really is, like, knitting will always be first in my heart, but Tunisian crochet is a close second. It's really fast. It's actually faster to do Tunisian crochet than either knitting or crochet. It's a really good stash buster because it tends to use up more yarn than its parents, knitting and crochet. And it's really, really versatile. You can create really dense, squishy, warm fabric like this hat. You know, I wish you could feel it because it's just so squishy and cozy feeling. Or you can create really lacy, airy projects like this shawlette. Like, you would never think that this was created with the same technique as this really dense fabric, but they are. They're both made with Tunisian crochet. And there's things that you can do with color work that are really exciting, and texture, like with this scarf that I made. This was actually the second Tunisian crochet project that I ever made. It's been on my channel before if you follow me, but you can just do a lot of fun things with color and texture with Tunisian crochet, and in ways that you can't even do with knitting or typical crochet. You can even create fabrics that mimic knitting. Like this swatch here, it looks like knitting, right? It looks like stockinette stitch, but it's not. You can tell in the back you've got these ridges. That's Tunisian crochet. So today I really want to give you an introduction to Tunisian crochet. I'm going to explain to you exactly what it is. You'll learn how to cast on, work your first stitch, and do a bind off. So hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, give this video a thumbs up, and let's do some Tunisian crochet. I want to remind you that down in the description box, you will find time codes to different parts of the video. So if there's something specific you want to get to, a technique, a demonstration, an explanation, you will find timestamps down below. Also down in the description box is going to be a list of materials and resources I think are really helpful for today's video. Some of these will be video, like links to other videos, links to some beginner patterns that might be helpful for you, and some will be clearly marked affiliate links. If you click on one of those affiliate links and you make a purchase, I then get a small commission, and this really does help support my channel. If you utilize one of my affiliate links, or you leaving me a super thanks or a tip through Buy Me a Coffee, thank you so much. It's so greatly appreciated. If you have been following my channel for any length of time, you've watched a live stream, then you have heard me talk about Tunisian crochet quite a bit the last couple of years. It is one of my favorite crafts, but if you are brand new, let's just quickly talk about, on a theoretical level, what is Tunisian crochet. So in Tunisian crochet, every row is made up of 2 passes.
First, you work a forward pass that moves from right to left. And then you work your return pass, which goes from left to right.
The first pass is kind of like what feels like knitting, in that when you do your forward pass, you insert your hook through a stitch and you pull up a loop of yarn, and you pull up a series of loops of yarn onto the shaft of your tool, okay? That sounds that can be taken away, let's just put it that way. The difference between Tunisian crochet and knitting is what happens after you finish pulling up all your loops of yarn. Instead of turning the work and creating another new set of loops of yarn, instead, you keep the front of the work facing you and you do what's called the return pass. And in the return pass, you crochet basically a slip stitch chain through those loops, so those loops of yarn get suspended on a crocheted chain. And that's why at times it feels like knitting, and at other times it feels like crochet while you are working it. At least that's why it feels that way to me. So when you first start off learning Tunisian crochet, if you just want to give it a try,
you can start off with a straight line style crochet hook like this one.
There are even patterns that are designed to use just a regular crochet hook, and I'll have a link to one of those patterns down in the description box if you want to take a look at that. However, if you really delve into Tunisian crochet, this is not going to do you. You're going to want to get an actual Tunisian crochet hook, and there's different styles of Tunisian crochet hooks out there. The easiest to find is a style like this. This is a Tunisian crochet hook. It's sometimes called an Afghan hook, and it looks a lot like a knitting needle, doesn't it? It has a long shaft like a knitting needle. It has a stopper at the end, but the difference is it has a crochet hook at the end as opposed to just coming to a point the way a knitting needle does. This type of Tunisian crochet hook is relatively easy to find. I almost always see them at Joann's or Michael's, and you can definitely find it very easily on like Amazon or any place like that. If you really are going to get in deep, you might want to consider something like this. It's a crochet hook that is attached to a flexible cable
with a stopper on the end.
This is actually interchangeable crochet hook. It's sometimes called an interchangeable Tunisian crochet hook. Almost every major brand that has interchangeable needles also sells a set of interchangeable crochet hooks. This is primarily what I like to use when I'm doing Tunisian crochet, and I like it for the same reasons that I like working with circulars in knitting. In that the fabric ends up on this length of cable that's really flexible, and so the weight of the project isn't just like all on one straight thing. It just hangs down really nicely, and because this is an interchangeable, there's different lengths of cords that I can put onto my crochet hook to make it work. There is one more style of Tunisian crochet hook I wanted to point out really quickly, and that is this style. This is a double-ended Tunisian crochet hook. You might have been in a store once and seen a double-ended crochet hook and go, what is that for? Well, it is actually for doing Tunisian crochet in the round. Discussing how that works is a little bit beyond the scope of this video, but you will find these. If you were to ask me, Carrie, I just want to get one, which one should I get just to try out Tunisian crochet? I would actually get the double-ended one because it's more versatile. Because all you would need to do to basically turn this into the equivalent of this is put a needle stopper on the end, or even if you didn't have a needle point protector, you could take a rubber band, put a rubber band at the end of one end of it to keep your stitches from falling off, and that would do the same thing as this stopper at the end of this straight Tunisian crochet hook. Easiest to find for sure is this. The most versatile, inexpensive to try out would be the double-ended crochet hook like this one. And if you really get deep into it, it might be time to think about an interchangeable crochet hook set like this. So to cast on with Tunisian crochet, we're going to first start by making a crochet slip stitch chain, and then work into the back humps of that chain to pull up your first loops of yarn. This is like the most basic skill in crochet, and if you're a crocheter, you're already going to know how to do this, and you might want to just skip ahead to when I talk about actually pulling up loops of yarn onto your Tunisian crochet hook. If you are a knitter coming to this for the first time, welcome to making a slip stitch chain. I actually do have a video for knitters on crochet skills that every knitter should know, and I will link that up here and down in the description box below if you just want to work on making a slip stitch chain, because it is a kind of a foundational skill. But I'm going to start off by making a slip knot onto my crochet hook. This does not count as a stitch. If you are a knitter, you're going to start off by tensioning the yarn in your left hand.
Hey, Ed and Carrie here. So I need to apologize to anybody who's watching this video who's left-handed, because I keep talking about doing Tunisian crochet as a right-handed person, but crochet is something where it can be worked either left-handed or right-handed. The same is true of Tunisian crochet. I really should be saying in this section that yarn is tensioned in your non-dominant hand and then you work the crochet hook with your dominant hand. So I sincerely apologize to all my left-handed people out there.
If you are used to tensioning your yarn in the left hand, this is not going to be a problem for you. If you, like me, are used to tensioning yarn in your right hand, this might take some time getting used to. But trust me, you can get there. I've gotten there. And I can tell you, when I first learned to tension yarn in my left hand, it felt really, really awkward, and it took me some time to get used to. But eventually I got there. This is how I do it. I take my pinky finger, I bring it up underneath the yarn, turn my hand over, and then I bring my forefinger underneath the yarn. So it's like this.
And then I pinch where that slip knot is, and then I yarn over clockwise and then pull the yarn through the loop on my crochet hook. And I have one slip stitch chain. And then I yarn over, pull through one. Yarn over, pull through one. And for knitters coming to this who haven't crocheted before, it's important to realize that you are going to be yarning over clockwise. You're going to bring the yarn over the top of the hook.
But here's the nice thing with this method of casting on with Tunisian crochet. If you cast on more chains than what you need for your first row, it's fine. You can undo extra chains after you're done. You just need to at least get the minimum number of chains. Let me count my chains now. I now have my slip stitch chain. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this chain, and you're going to notice on one side I've got these V's. If I turn it over, there are these bumps on the back of the chain. Get that real close. Right there is that bump. We are going to work through those bumps to pull up our loops of yarn. So I'm going to work into the first bump. So I'm going to take my crochet hook and I'm just going to bring it through that bump on the back of the chain. Okay, the first one's a little tight. There we go.
So now I have two loops on my crochet hook. On the right is the last chain I made. On the left is that bump I just put my needle through. So now I am going to yarn over and I'm going to pull the yarn through just the loop on the left. That's the bump. And now I have two loops of yarn on my crochet hook.
And then I'm going to go into my next bump. So there's my next bump. Right there. There's the bump right there. I'm going to bring my Tunisian crochet hook through the bump, yarn over, pull that loop of yarn through the bump. Now I've got 3 loops of yarn on my hook. And I'm going to do that, repeat that, until I have 20 loops of yarn onto my Tunisian crochet hook. So I've got 20 loops of yarn up on my hook. There we go. And I've got these extra chains. It's fine. You can take your slip knot here at the end and just pull this out. Thusly. There we go. And just kind of one by one undo those extra chains. So that's why it's like, I never worry that I'm doing too many chains. I only worry if I don't have enough. Now that I've casted on my loops, now I need to do my first return pass. All right, so the return pass is when we create the crochet slip stitch chain that these loops of yarn are gonna get suspended from. So the return pass is about remembering one mantra. Yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2 until the end of the row.
Here's my first stitch on the hook. I'm gonna yarn over and pull through 1, just that first loop on my hook.
I have now created what is called the edge stitch. This will be important later on. From this point forward, I'm going to yarn over and pull through 1 loop, 2 loops of yarn. All right, do it again. Here is my first loop of yarn on my crochet hook. Here's my second loop of yarn on my Tunisian crochet hook. I'm going to yarn over, I'm going to pull through 1, 2. Okay, And you're gonna just do this until you have one stitch left on your hook. There, I have one stitch left on my hook. I am done. My first row of Tunisian crochet is complete. Now that you know how to cast on a row for Tunisian crochet, it's time to learn the most basic stitch, Tunisian simple stitch. You can see here that I have worked more than a few rows of Tunisian simple stitch. And that's what Tunisian simple stitch looks like. You have these vertical bars. Those are the loops of yarn that we pull up. But you can see very clearly the crochet slip stitch chain in between. The Tunisian simple stitch is the most basic, and it's a good stitch to learn when you're first starting off because it's gonna give you a nice feel for how a lot of other stitches are done in Tunisian crochet. As we get into it though, let's talk really quickly about the anatomy of a Tunisian crochet stitch.
So first you have here the front vertical bar. Then if you look towards the back, there is a back vertical bar as well. These vertical bars are the legs of the loops that you pull up in the forward pass. Then there's the parts of the crochet chain, which has the front horizontal strand and then the back horizontal strand.
And this is what gives Tunisian crochet, I think, so much versatility is there's so many different places that you can put your work and create different stitches. But the first stitch we're gonna learn is the Tunisian simple stitch, and it is worked through the front vertical bar. So to do the Tunisian simple stitch, the yarn is held to the back of the work. I have my loop of yarn here on my crochet stitch.
There's this first vertical bar, that's actually the edge stitch, and we do not want to work into that. We're going to work on the second vertical bar from the edge.
I'm going to bring my crochet through behind the front vertical bar and keep my hook to the public side of the work. So this is what it looks like when I bring my hook through the front vertical bar to do Tunisian simple stitch. Then I'm going to yarn over and I'm going to pull the yarn through the front vertical bar. And now I have 2 stitches on my hook. Okay? Show you again. I'm going to bring my Tunisian crochet hook behind the front vertical bar. Make sure I keep my crochet hook to the public side of the work. Yarn over, pull through the yarn through the front vertical bar, and I created a new loop of yarn on my hook. And that is Tunisian simple stitch. There's a reason it's called simple. The biggest thing to remember with Tunisian simple stitch is that yarn is to the back, crochet hook is to the front. You don't want to go through the front vertical bar and into the back of the work. That's a different stitch. The crochet hook remains on the public side of your fabric at all times. So I'm going to keep making Tunisian simple stitch stitches, and I'm going to work to 1 stitch before the end, okay? Because once we get to the end, we're going to have to deal with what is called the edge stitch. So I'm getting to the end of my row. I have a marker here. This is the last stitch. This is a special stitch that's called the edge stitch. If I were to just do a Tunisian simple stitch into this last stitch, I would just bring my yarn. Here's this front vertical post right there, or what looks like the front vertical post. I would just bring my needle through it and do the stitch, right? But that would not be correct. Here is my beginning of my row, and you can see I have these nice vertical V's. We want both edges to have the same chain. So to do that, we have to work what's called the edge stitch. What we want to do on an edge stitch is there's actually 2 legs. It looks like an upside down V. We want to bring our hook hook behind both those legs. So I'm going to take my crochet hook and I'm going to bring it behind that first leg and the second leg. Okay? So my crochet hook, there's the two legs from the edge stitch right there. I'm going to yarn over and I'm going to pull through both those legs, and now I've done my edge stitch. And it just creates that nice vertical V on the edge that mirrors what's going on at the front edge there. So it's just really important when you're doing the edge stitch that you aren't working through one leg, that you are bringing your crochet hook behind both those legs that you see on the edge of your work. Now that we're here and I've done my whole row, we are ready for the return pass. And in the return pass, it is just like the return pass on the cast on.
So I'm going to yarn over, pull through 1, then yarn over, pull through 2, and repeat the yarn over, pull through 2. So I have 1 stitch left on my hook.
All right, and another row of Tunisian crochet is complete. So I had this last row, and what we're going to do is that we're going to work the Tunisian simple stitch, just like we have every other row, except we're not going to leave the loop of yarn on our hook the way we did the previous rows.
So I'm going to take my hook and do a Tunisian simple stitch, yarn over, pull through 1, but instead of leaving that new loop of yarn on my crochet hook, I'm going to pull it through the previous loop, so pull through 2. And I have 1 loop of yarn on my hook.
And that is how you bind off in Tunisian crochet.
You work your stitch, and then you pull through 2. And you repeat this until you get to your edge stitch.
It is very much just like doing crochet. This is very much feels in the realm of the crochet world. All right, I'm here to this edge stitch. I'm going to do what I've done with every other edge stitch. I'm going to go behind the 2 posts, the front and back vertical posts, yarn over, pull through. But I'm not going to just pull over 1. I'm going to pull through 2, so I have 1 last stitch. Okay, and then break the yarn and pull that yarn through, and boom. There is my finished swatch of Tunisian simple stitch crochet. And you can see my bind off edge very nicely matches my cast on edge. I have a curled up mess. Something you should know right now about Tunisian crochet is when you first work the fabric, it has a lot of curl. It can have a lot of curl. Generally, when there's this much curl, it'd be like, ooh, scary. But believe it or not, this fabric had about the same amount of curl in it as this did. So what did I do? I blocked it out. I washed it and I did a pin block and I blocked out the curl. If I used a larger hook and I had looser stitches, then there wouldn't be so much curling. So that's something else you see a lot in Tunisian crochet, that you use a larger hook with your yarn in order to just have a looser fabric so it's not so dense. The denser the Tunisian crochet fabric is, the more it's going to curl like this.
There are some other tips and tricks for controlling curl,
but that is a topic to be discussed in a later video. If you like my videos on Tunisian crochet, please make sure to give this a thumbs up so I know that you want me to keep making these types of videos. And comment down below with your questions. So I love YouTube. Obviously, I have a channel. And I have learned so much on YouTube. And I hope that I have been a resource on YouTube. However, especially when learning a new craft, as great as YouTube is, sometimes I still want a reference book. So if you are interested in learning more, delving deeper into Tunisian crochet, I do recommend
Tunisian Crochet Workshop by Michelle Robinson. This book is a really good introductory book to Tunisian crochet. It covers all your basic stitches. It has a nice stitch dictionary. And one of the things I really like about it is it actually has a whole little section with the color wheel and choosing colors, which I think is a really nice feature of this book.
So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you found this video helpful and entertaining. If so, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and share it with your other yarn wrangling friends. Liking videos, sharing videos, commenting on videos are all great ways to help support my channel and let YouTube know that this is a space worth checking out. If you have not already, please make sure that you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. When you click on the notification bell, assuming that you have the right settings in place, you'll get alerted whenever I upload a new video or start a live stream. So that is it for me today. Again, thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you have a wonderful day, evening, weekend, weeknight, whenever you may be watching this. And as always, happy health and happy making. Bye. How do I want to start? If you've been to my channel before, you've heard me talk about Tunisian crochet. You are brand new if you are brand new to Tunisian crochet, let's try that again. When I first learned how to do Tunisian crochet, I'm gonna show you the method to cast on. Oh, excuse me. Before I forget, because I always forget. At the very end of the video, there's gonna be a couple video suggestions if you'd like to watch some more videos from me. So a couple video suggestions where you pop up. If you've got the time, you wanna watch another video, just click on one of those suggestions. And there's a last chance to hit subscribe. See my little face in the corner and you can click on that and subscribe. So there it is, last plug. I have to get those last plugs in. Last plugs.